All right, well, let's get into it then. Let's go inside the mind of Kurtis Gabriel, so we say here. When you when you hear the words sports psychology, mental side of hockey, mental side of being an athlete, what's the first thing that really comes to your head?
The first thing I think, dude, is holy shit, nobody realizes how important it is. Or why the hell didn't anybody tell me this when I was 10 years old? Like, it pisses me off, honestly. But obviously that's because the world's changing and mental health and mental awareness is becoming what it is. It wasn't around when I was a kid. Nobody said the only way to get mentally tough and strong was to work out so hard that you wanted to quit and then not quitting. And I did that, which is great, but that doesn't prepare you for, the crazy crap happening in your life. So that's the first thing I think about, is that why wasn't I taught how important it is? And basically that your mind is the key to life. It's the key to everything.
Yeah. I know, like, for athletes in particular, with a lot of them that I talk to, they say they try not to have regrets about anything. But when you think about that, like, you wish you kind of had that in the past. Is there a little bit of regret there, or kind of how do you wrestle with that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I used to be, I still am working on it, but I used to be a very grudge holding kind of person, very intense, emotional, but I'm trying to learn now that you got to plant your tree now and not plant it 20 years ago or whatever it is. Right. So that's a big thing for me now, but, no, I don't worry about it because it wasn't a thing back then. And I didn't have people in my life that knew about it, so I can't really fault anyone or myself. So I just kind of looking back, I wish I stick handled more when I was a kid, but I was playing other sports.
Right. You mentioned being emotional. I think that's such a huge problem, not only for hockey players, but for athletes in particular. But for you in particular, is there a moment in time back maybe early on when you were playing where a game or maybe a play where it sticks out where it really affected your play that kind of fuels you to not be emotional right now? Like, you think back, back then when I was emotional, it kind of hurt me in that way.
Yeah. I mean, countless things. And through this quarantine, I've done a lot of introspection and writing about myself and really figured out, kind of who I am and why I do these things. So I'm trying to move on from it. But yeah, it's the reason I had to do that is because my emotions affect everything. My emotions are what got me here to where I am in hockey. And it's also what's held me back from being in the NHL probably. Like it's a double-edged sword, right? I wouldn't be able to do what I do without being crazy, intense, passionate, emotional. I fight people. I play so physical. But at the same time, that can go too far, and if the stuff doesn't go the way I want it to, or how I planned, I would in the past, a long time ago, I'd crumble, and now I just wrestle with it more, and now I'm just kind of constantly fighting it. Where, I don't know how some guys just brush it off like stuff like that. It's just not who I am. So I've really had to work at it.
Yeah, you mentioned you do like some daily journaling or something like that. What does that look like?
I've learned too that so for example, I would daily journal. I've done times where it's daily meditate. It's a constant ebb and flow of what you think you need. It's no set thing. I'm tired of people being like, oh, do this, it'll fix everything. Nothing fixes anything. Mm-hmm. You decide what works for you and you put in and plug in what helps you. So at times it's journaling. At times it's not journaling and not thinking too much. At times it's meditating. Other times it's, no, I got so much going on right now. I'm having so much fun. I don't need it. I'm just buzzing. So it's it's a really fluid thing. And I think life is so fluid and nothing's permanent. Everything's constantly changing that if you get too rigid, you're screwed. So I used to be so rigid and now I'm just I make the best out of whatever happens, baby. And whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. One thing that really stuck out for me from that I thought of is a lot of these sports psychology techniques, and you kind of touched on it a bit already, but how they kind of blend into personal life as well. Like, I'm sure, you being able to relax, control your emotions helps in your personal life as well. But I really like how you mentioned how these things are really kind of trial and error. Like, you can't know until something works until you actually try it out. And just because the first couple of things don't work doesn't mean that sports psychology doesn't work or these mental approaches don't work, right? I'm sure you have countless experiences with that as well.
I mean, that's just life in a nutshell. It's trial and error. You fail your way to success. No one just wakes up and pisses excellence. I don't care who you are. Connor McDavid can wake up and skate like he can, but he had to work his hands to keep up with his skating. He had to work all these things. You're given your talents and then you're given weaknesses and you got to work on those things. Keep your strengths really strong, get your weaknesses up, and then just not worry about too much. It's such a weird thing, man, but it's just fail your way to success. And nobody wants to do that because it sucks. It's awful. it's terrible. But you know what? On the other side of that is the best feeling ever. That feeling of breaking through a plateau and improving. So that's what I chase every day, with every different walk of life, like personal life, career, off the ice career, everything. I'm just constantly trying to break through plateaus. And as soon as you're not trying to do that, you're dying. You're going backwards.
Yeah, it's always kind of the old saying that you can't learn to win until you learn to lose type of thing, right? And for a lot of the younger athletes that I coach with, and I've sold this kind of little thing on the podcast many times, but I tell them try not to focus on one sport really when you're growing up, because from the mindset of you need to learn how to lose. And if you're the best hockey player in your city and you never lose a game, when you get to college and the pros and you start losing, it might be hard to deal with it, right? But if you pick up things like badminton or basketball or soccer or whatever, then you'll learn to lose, right? So it's not much of a shock. It's just fascinating how everybody, I think, in their mind, all they think about is winning, but you almost kind of have to lose to get to win. You know what I mean?
Yes, and you know what? That's great. That's what, like, I think, like, you're right. I wasn't as good at volleyball. I was good, but I wasn't as good. I was way better at baseball than I was at hockey. So I was a great pitcher, but I couldn't really hit. But so I get what you're saying with that. But in modern day, if I have my mind in a 10-year-old right now, I'll do whatever it takes to go practice with 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
I'll pay whoever I need to pay. I'll go work and cut their grass if I can go skate with the best players in town when I suck. And they can chirp me all they want. They can say all they want. And I'll just be soaking it up. I'll be soaking up the competition, soaking up the ability. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Listening to some of the vlogs you posted on your IG, you really talked a little about your early goings on in hockey. And it really was apparent how much of a daily grind it was and how hard you worked on it. How did those values and principles get installed in you? Was that something that you kind of discovered on your own, or were there people that put that into you?
Yeah, no, that's what my mom always says. She's like, I mean, no, don't get me wrong. She's worked hard to be a teacher. She was a teacher for 25 plus years to give us in Canada, teachers get paid really well, not so much in the States. So she grinded out a great living and, did everything she needed to do. It's not to say she didn't work hard, but she definitely didn't, I wouldn't say went after her dream. And from a young age, I was just like, I'm just going to do whatever the hell speaks to me the most. So when I got to an age where my mom basically got me to fall into hockey. She was the one that suggested to go try out for the better team. And I was like, okay. Yeah. And then once I got there and did well, I was hooked. I was just like, I'm doing this. So I don't know. I don't know where it came from, to be honest with you. I guess she told me to go try out. I always worked hard at things. I always, nothing harder than anybody else, but we just sat down. We're like, okay, if you're going to do this, so how are we going to do it? And I said, okay, well, I need to start lifting weights. That seems like what everybody does. I need to start working with a skills type coach and skating with good players. And I need to be in wicked shape, and I need to, play at a higher level. So I don't know. It's weird how it happens. We just made a plan and then I just went balls out on it. And I don't know how I was like that. It's just who I am, I guess. I don't know.
Did you make that plan? I know it was quite a few years ago, but was that a daily plan you were making, or was it a weekly plan, or did you just have monthly goals? What did that plan kind of look like, and how did you come about with it?
Yeah, so I was playing, a double A in my OHL draft year. So I was the captain of my team, having a blast. Yeah. And then, all the guys get drafted to the OHL, which I was like, what's the OHL? I don't even know at this point. And my mom says, go try out for this junior A team. So I'm like, we just go out there and I wing it and I do well. And they're like, we can't sign you, so go play AAA major midget, So me and my mom are like, okay, I guess we got to go play major midget. Thankfully, there's a guy in the crowd, Daryl Sorrow, got me to come play for the Markham Waxers. Great. Now what do we do? Okay, well, we talk around, look on the internet. Everything's on the internet. Even back then, you lift weights, you get better at hockey, and you get stronger. I mean, I was, I hadn't even hit puberty. I was so skinny and just tall. So I guess that's not a weekly goal, but maybe we just made maybe 6 months, get better at hockey. This is what I'm going to do over the summer. We left weights for the first time. I had a broken wrist. I was my arm was hanging over the squat bar as I was squatting. I just said, this is what we're going to do. This should make me better at hockey. Do it until next year's tryout.
Yeah. I want to get to a bit more. One thing that you mentioned in your vlog, I guess, kind of along the early goings of hockey, was when you got invited to the Coyotes camp. And that's really interesting to me because I want to kind of get a sense of your nerves. And what made me think about that was you going through all these tryouts as a young kid. There's got to be some level of nerve involved to it. Did that help at all, prepare you at all for your first rookie camp in the NHL? Or was that just such a whole new experience that it was kind of like a whole new ball game?
This is kind of interesting. Back then, I wasn't in my head yet. I wasn't even smart enough to know what was going on. So I was just in that mode where I love tryouts because I love competition. Whatever competition's the highest, that's when I usually thrive, right? So I was like, frick yeah, I'm in wicked shape. I'm going to go with these guys. Obviously, I'm intimidated, but who cares? I shouldn't even be here. So I just went and ripped it, and it went well. But when I got back thinking I was king shit now, I thought I was going to walk right into OHL and play more and do all this crazy stuff and play so well. And I didn't. I got my bubble popped huge. That's where I started getting in my head more, where it's like, wow, I had this ascent that was just like the steepest ascent ever. And I thought I was just going to keep walking through it, but then boom, got hit by something. So I needed that to happen. But at that point, tryouts, I got a little more worried about them now. I was like, oh, am I as good as I think I am? So that was kind of a big turning moment for me. But I guess, again, I could have just shied away from it, but I just kept running at it because I was like, I know I could do this. Just, I got a couple obstacles in the way now.
Yeah. And it's kind of like what we mentioned before, that the adversity is part of your journey as an athlete. And hindsight's 2020, of course, but probably back then, I'm assuming that you kind of looked at your trajectory as a hockey player as just a steep line going up, and it keeps going up and up and up, where I can't picture an athlete where it just goes up and up and up. Every athlete has its dips, right? So it's really just about bouncing back from that. How much of a role did your mom kind of play as you got older? Did she still stay involved with you kind of throughout hockey and helping you through these mental things?
Oh, I call her every day about how my workouts went. Like she's fully dialed in. She's like a scout now. She knows so much about hockey, but she was always just, she didn't know anything about hockey. She was a volleyball player, a basketball player, a soccer goalie. So she understood the basics of sports and stuff, but she didn't necessarily understand the inner workings, hockey culture, all that kind of stuff. So she was as involved as she could be. I just tried to translate my brain over to her and give her as much information and feed her. And then she would make suggestions and I would say, I don't know. But we never had anybody really that was like a mentor or a figure saying, do this, do that. We just figured it out on our own. And for better or for worse, I learned some things from that. And I also probably hurt me in some ways, but you just try to make the best of it.
Right. Jumping ahead a bit, another thing that you kind of mentioned in your vlogs, or just reading a bit about your biography and whatnot, was your draft experience. Because from what I gathered, you were a couple years draft eligible, but didn't actually get selected. Mm-hmm. Just walk me through a bit about what were some of the biggest takeaways that you took from that, or maybe what were some of the biggest emotions you were feeling. Like I guess prior you had said when you first started trying out for hockey that you weren't really in your head yet. And you're kind of going into things like, I really shouldn't be here, right? And so I'll just kind of go give it 110% and see what happens. Mm-hmm. Was that your same mindset during your first couple of draft eligible years, or just really what was that kind of like when you're not getting selected?
Yeah. So, I mean, right, I had that steep ascent. I went from, AAA major midget to right into the OHL to into NHL training camp within whatever amount of months. Like it was crazy. I hadn't even really played in the OHL yet. So I just figured it'd keep going. Now that's obviously naive. I got sent back down to earth, going from Everest type mountains to like the old Appalachian mountains, like slow and bumpy ones now, right? That's kind of how I picture the curve. So I'm in the OHL and I'm like, okay, not going to be as easy as I thought it was. And then I basically had a full year. I guess a full year and a half. So the same time that I had that at ascent, I had that long of a low. I was terrible in the OHL for a season. I got beat up 9 out of 10 fights. I didn't know how to fight yet. I did not do anything. Again, learn how you learn by losing. And then I went home, had no calls to go to training camp, nothing. So I put in the craziest summer I could. We doubled down. I went and trained with the best possible trainer at the time, Gary Roberts, spent a bunch of money, doubled down hard. And then I come back to training camp and it's either it's like a make or break moment. I'm either going to fizzle out and not even make this team again, or I'm going to get a shot from this coach to get put on a third line and going to take off. And that's what happened. My preparation of seeing the long-term thing and believing in myself led me to that moment to go talk to him, closed door meeting. Hey, I need a chance here. Like, you got to at least give me a chance before you ship me out of here or you don't play me again. And I just was ready for it and ran with it. So then it went back to the ascent again. So it went up really high and then it went really low for 2 years, a year and a half, and then went up again because I just got on a line where my chemistry was working. We started dominating. I scored goals. I beat up everybody, mostly. And then at Christmas party, I'm sitting there. Me and my mom are drinking OJ, and we're just sitting there. And my GM comes up to me. He's like, "Your son's gonna get drafted in the NHL." He didn't say hey. He just slyly said, "Your son's gonna get drafted in the NHL." And we were like, "Sorry, what?" Because I'd never been a part of a draft process. I'd never been in the OHL draft. I didn't even know I could get drafted yet. I was like, wasn't my draft year 2 years ago? He's like, yep, your last eligible year. I'm like, what? So then to, play the rest. Then from then on, I went even harder the rest of the year, had a great playoffs. And I was like, are we going to the draft? And agent's like, oh yeah, we're going. You're getting picked in the 5th, or if somebody really wants you, in the 3rd. I'm like, I guess we're going then.
Yeah.
So that was a crazy ride, but yeah, I went really up, really down, really up again, I guess.
Did you have any idea, obviously you got selected by the Wild, but did you have any idea of what team you would go to? Like, what is the draft process kind of like for those mid-round picks? Because you kind of hear in the media of like pre-draft interviews for the top 5, 10 picks, right? And that's kind of more set in stone. But as you get longer and longer on, it's hard to predict a bit.
Yeah, it all depends on what age you are. So if you're like a first-year eligible guy and you're supposed to get picked where I did, you probably are in the top 100 players. So you go to the draft combine. And those guys get grilled physically and with interviews, right? So me being a 19-year-old, and I just happened to live close to Toronto, for the combine, and teams were calling me every day. And for like a week, I put on like a suit and tie and like drove down to this one hotel right by the airport where they're holding it. And I got snuck in like back doors because teams didn't want other teams to know they were talking about me or talking to me, because I was like I'm not ranked. It's kind of hearsay. So, but I'll tell you what, me and my agent made sure every team knew. Every time I went in there, I said, oh yeah, I've already talked to 7. Oh yeah, I've already talked to 15. Oh yeah, I already talked. So I made sure everybody knew. I understand how it works, leverage, and who wants you more. That obviously drove my price up. So I had great interviews, great relationship with the Nashville scout. So I knew they were really interested, or at least he was, because that's how it works. Is a scout will take his argument back to the draft table, right, and try to get you drafted. So I knew I had him. And then I had an unbelievable interview with the Oilers. They'd done like 120 over the week. And I was the very last one. And they talked to me for like triple the length because they just loved talking to me. They were like, Craig Butausch is like, you want a scouting role right now? We'll just hire you as a scout. You love hockey. You're nuts. So that I was like, maybe them. And then Minnesota was my last one. And it was at a Tim Hortons 2 hours or down the street from my house. And we talked for 2 hours with Craig Channel. So I knew it was one of those 3. And then when in the 3rd round, Minnesota was up and Edmonton in the 2nd, I just kind of knew I was going to get there.
See, you had that interview at Timmy's?
At a Timmy's.
That's crazy.
Craig Channel, they call him the Channel Cat. He used to play, and he just talked. We didn't even really talk about myself. We just talked about hockey. He wanted to know what kind of person I was. And then that last question he asked me, what do I take back to my GM, Chuck Fletcher, to try to get you drafted? And I said, well, it doesn't matter how long it takes. If I'm in the minors 5, 6 years, I'm going to still be trying to make it. Here I am 6 years pro later. I'm still trying to do it.
Yeah. Obviously athletes, they have like a pregame routine or pregame visualization routine or whatever. Did you have anything along those lines for trials or like pre-draft interviews, or would that be kind of overkill in your mind?
Yeah, that's overkill. I just walked right in there and I'm confident with who I am. I'm not like a kid that plays video games 10 hours a day. I didn't smoke weed. I didn't do any, drinking. I was not, I was a buttoned down kid that wanted it. So I had nothing to be worried about. I just showed up and was myself. Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah. It's awesome. Another thing too, that kind of stuck out from reading a bit about your career is being sent down and back through to an NHL and the AHL. I just want to kind of get your mindset of the daily mindset of that. Cause it's obviously a grind. No one's underestimating that. Right. And probably underestimated in that regards. But what I'm really interested in is what it feels like to you, or how you keep a positive mindset when you get called up to the NHL and then you're getting sent back to the AHL. Cause I think for a lot of people, whether it's on a professional level or an amateur or recreational level, it's hard to have that, to swallow that pill, right? To be told that you're not good enough to stay, type of thing. I know for you, it kind of drives your motor even stronger and stronger. Was it always like that, or is that something that developed over the years?
Oh, I've struggled with that so hard, again, because I'm so emotional. If I feel like something's unfair, if I truly believe, and I think I'm a pretty fair, like I'm hard on myself, like very hard. But if I truly think I should be somewhere and I'm not, in the past, I've had a very hard time, and I'm not going to lie about that. So again, that goes back to being emotional. If I wasn't like that, I couldn't go up and then just fight people. Like, that's who I am. I'm that fiery person. So I knew other times I got sent down, I was totally fine with, because I was like, hey, it makes sense. Like, I'm not ready, this and that. But when I truly thought I was ready and I've been sent down twice, I was not happy. So, we won like 13 games in a row. My 3rd year pro. So it's my last year, my entry level, 13 games in a row. We won best franchise month in history. The whole league's talking about the Wild. I've played every game. I fought like 6 times. My hands are stitched together. My middle finger is stitched straight, so I can't bend it. And I fight the toughest guy, Reeves, and I eat all his punches. And I'm like, let's go. Like, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere anymore. sent down because Bruce Boudreau said, we like you. We like having you here. You make everybody bigger, but you're 23. You won't be ready till you're 27. That's when Reeves made it. You're like that kind of guy. And that was like, I was pissed. that was a tough thing to hear, because they went with veterans and they made a trade for Hansel and Ryan White. Ryan White, great guy. Hansel, probably a great guy, but I think you need young, fiery passion on a team. You can't just have a bunch of old guys. That's my opinion. But, that bit them in the ass, I think. But then the other time, got called up in Jersey a couple times, and a couple things that happened there that I wasn't on board with, but I ended up staying there for 3 months. So it's something I've really had to work at, dude, because again, this is a long answer, but this is a big thing for me. So now I know what's really changed, and what I would tell all kids younger than me and would tell myself is that you can't identify as just a hockey player. I truly felt like if I didn't play in the NHL, I would die. Like I can't understate that. I thought I would spontaneously combust. Like I was a hockey player. That's who I am. It's one plan. It's make the NHL or die. And that has not worked for me. So now in this quarantine, I've introspected so much. I looked at my life from all different angles, what I've done right, what I've done wrong. And now I don't identify as a hockey player. I'm a man, and I believe in myself as a good person trying to make a difference. And I'm a hockey player second. And now I just get to play hockey, and it's like I'm a kid again because I don't need it. It became too much of a hyper focus. Now I'm just like, dude, I get to go play hockey and fight in front of people and score goals and try to, do all this stuff. It's great. If I don't get to, I'll be fine.
Yeah, no, it reminds me of a podcast I recorded not too long ago with a former CFL wide receiver, Shamad Chambers. And we talked a bit about how once the money gets involved, that's when the fun starts to get turned upside down a bit, right? Like when there's money and fame and stuff attached to it. I guess it's the old cliche of like people, they have their passions or their hobbies, whatever, and they're hesitant of like getting that as a job because that's when like the fun kind of gets sucked out of it. I know for you had mentioned earlier on that you really didn't feel, I guess, much pressure in hockey. You weren't really in your head. Is there a specific point in time in your career where it started to think like NHL was do or die and you really started to identify really with that as your identity?
Yeah, like for sure. The first, after the day I got drafted, even before that, I knew in the back of my head, I'm going to play in the NHL. That's just a driving belief any person that is successful at some level has to have. Like, it's like, no matter what happened, I was at the lowest of lows in the back of my head. I'm like, you're going to play in the NHL. Yeah. So I always had that. And I think you need that. But when I got drafted, it became like do or die. This team drafted me. They spent a pick on a 19 turning 20-year-old tough guy. Like I have to make it just to prove them right and feel good about it and then not feel bad. They wasted a pick on me and I didn't get that. So that took a huge hit, right? Didn't make it in Minnesota. And then to Jersey, it's like, I got to make it here then. Didn't, I think I make it, but then I don't need, go back to them in free agency. And then I'm with Philly. And now it's so, I don't know. I guess it started when I got drafted and it's ended since COVID because now I'm aware of myself now and I'm not going back to that way of thinking.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think this COVID has really, one, allowed people to have the time to be able to develop these systems to be able to be mentally ready and mentally healthy. But number two, really just stresses how important it is to be mentally healthy because you hear about it all the time, right? And like you mentioned back then when you kind of starting out with hockey, mental health wasn't too much of an issue or mental performance, so to say. But now it's starting to get pushed more and more. You see some of the stories of like mental health stuff in juniors or pro or AHL, whatever it is. But it just really goes to show that you can't, like, the physical aspect of hockey is of course important because you play the game on physical ice, but the mental aspect of it is just as important as the physical. You can have all the skill in the world. How many first round picks or first overall picks don't pan out, right? I don't know if that's skill or mental, but I'm sure the mental has something to do with it.
I always say that, whatever the number is, 500-600 players in the NHL every year that have like a full-time job in the NHL, whatever that number is. I say there's at least 2,000 people in the whole world that can have one of those jobs with skill and ability. But what it comes down to is the mental part and having someone that just, like, the NHL teams just like you. They just think that's the guy. You know what I mean? Like there's a little thing there that there's so many guys that can play in the NHL. It's who can navigate this whole mess of the mental aspect of it. Anybody can handle any situation, but can your mind handle the situation? That's the real question. So those guys up there, they handle it better than other people.
Yeah. And one thing that was really interesting that I learned really from speaking with a lot of athletes is how important, we kind of talked about it already, how important family and friends are and everything. But I really want to get your take of how you dealt the first couple of times moving away from home. I know growing up in the GTA area and then you go play hockey in the States, right? For your NHL career. How tough was that transition for you? And what were some of the things you did to cope with that?
I've never been a guy that's a homesick type of guy. That's just not who I am. Wherever I am, I'm home. As long as I can talk to my mom on the phone or FaceTime, I can be anywhere in the world, and my girlfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
So I never had a problem moving away from home. That's where I wanted to be. But I say my transition was from going from playing in a small Canadian town of 20,000 people in Owen Sound, where everybody knew you and you had to be careful. You couldn't be out in public doing anything, sketchy or anything. You had to be really buttoned down. And then you go start playing pro hockey in somewhere like Des Moines, Iowa, where nobody cares about hockey and you can just run around like crazy. And that's what some guys do. So I had to kind of like see the contrast of that and not get sucked into like partying. And because I wasn't allowed to basically in Owen Sound. So I had to kind of find the balance of that. So that was my kind of version of that, I guess, where I was like, okay, there's a time to have fun with the guys and I'm a young guy. It's time to have fun, but like you pick your spots and you basically like plan it out. You're not just like, I'm a big planner guy. So I would be like, all right, we have this many games this month, here, and here is where we can, relax and let loose a little bit. And then if no other days other than that, that was how I did it.
Yeah, no, you mentioned being a planner guy. And I see always in your IG, you post your stories, your like daily plan for the day, right? What's kind of your inspiration behind that? Is it to hold yourself accountable? Is it to show other people like how to plan out their days, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I think social media is such a wicked tool.
Yeah.
If you use it correctly, just like anything in life, anything has positives, everything has big time negatives. So David Goggins, I read his and listened to his audiobook like 6 times. I love that guy. And he was just saying, post each of the steps was like, post it on social media. You won't do it. And I'm like, at the time, I'm like, no, I won't. He's like, well, that's the only way that you're going to really hold yourself accountable if you tell other people about it. And then it got me thinking, like, I kind of sometimes like, I like fighting, but sometimes when it's like, I fought a lot and I'm like, holy cow, here we go again. I almost have to like talk myself into it or talk to the boys about it. Oh, I'm going to go this guy. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. So I think that I kind of was like, oh, okay. So now that I'm wanting to be, an activist and also talk about what we're talking about and try to improve people's lives through like, motivation or going out what you love, I was like, why not do this every day? Post it, same picture out my window. And it's all authentic. I'm not playing it ahead of time. I'm not thinking of the song ahead of time. I'm not thinking what I'm going to write. I just wake up and whatever's on my mind, I just spew it into a story, throw a couple of things in there, make it look cool, put on a tune I like and rip it. So that's me for sure holding myself accountable, but I was doing that long before. Now I'm just sharing it and showing other people like what it's all about to me. That's how I approach life.
Yeah. No, I really like how you said everything in life and social media in particular has positive and negatives. It's just about how you use it, right? Because I guess there's some, mainstream media out there or whatever, water cooler talk, I guess is the term I was thinking about, where they talk about how bad social media is and you're getting addicted to it and everything, right? Where like true, people do get addicted to things like social media and whatnot, but I'm sure your experience speaks for itself. There's a lot of positives that come to social media, whether it's inspiring others or being an advocate for change or for certain charities or foundations, connecting with people, building a brand. There's a lot of positives. It's just about your perspective and perception of it and just using it in the correct manner, I guess, so to say.
Yeah, it's holding yourself accountable. Like I'm not going on there and scrolling for an hour, I'm not going to my explore page. First of all, my explore page is all like dinosaurs and dragons because that's the only thing I look at. I'm not on there. Like I have a girlfriend. I'm not on there like creeping girls,
right.
Like, oh, here we go. Boo, it's all in my face. I'm not creeping this, creeping that. Like I go on social media to do my stuff, put it out there. And then maybe if I get all my stuff done in the day, I can have 20, 30 minutes on there, relax, or I go on and I just watch like YouTube on hockey skills. That's what I use the internet and social media for. I don't look at like stuff I guess like other people do because I've learned that that's just stupid. Like all of it is just positivity. You got to show like the negative side of life too. I try to hint at that and show it as much as I can on social media. You still need to get contracts and stuff. You can't show your crazy head case or something, which I'm not. But like you don't want to show like too much negativity. Like, but try to be as open as I can and like use it for a tool where like you said, connecting with people, feeding your brain with positive stuff. I don't need to be looking at girls in bikinis dancing in the pool or, you know what I mean? I don't need to be doing that.
Yeah. It's all about having that mindset of getting better. I think you mentioned even one of your posts or stories, like video of you stick handling, whatever, and I think it was the parking garage, and you're like getting 0.01% better today. It's all about having that mindset of 0.01% better each and every day, because they add up, and eventually you're going to get 100% better, right? So it's about finding those little things online, whether it's like, watching those hockey skills videos, or just finding some relaxation or meditation videos or audio files online to get 0.01% better. Because I think a lot of people, they have a goal in their mind. They think point A to point Z right away, 0 to 100, where it's 0, 0.01, 0.02. It's step by step by step.
Yeah, I agree. Like, what year in the OHL was it? I decided to start playing NHL, but not for the joy of it. I made my own, because I was in the game, being in a junior Owen Sound Attack OHL. So I used myself, and I would literally just play the game like how I would in a real game. Like, now I wasn't trying to do crazy stuff. I tried to do it the right way and improve my guy. And it was like my own mindset of being like, every day when I stick handle, every day when I skate on the ice, I practice, I'm improving the bars. You have your bars, you're skating, you're checking. I was just trying to move the line on that, just constantly think about like getting better. And I think like some people are exhausted by that. They don't want to think about their job all day, but when you love what you do, I want to think about it all day. Yeah. And when I think about it all day, I'm constantly uncovering new things. I'm constantly thinking about things in a different way. And that's how it manifests. Like my brain's just always on it. So then things start happening. I swear that's how it works. And now I just know when to park that. I'm like, okay, hockey's done for the day. Now I do the same thing for activism, education, my own brand, podcasts, and I just shift it to that. Now I have all this energy and passion for that. So I jump between the two now.
Yeah. It reminds me of, this is a quote that a lot of people have said, but the one person that really sticks out that said this quote is Gary Vaynerchuk, where he said, like, if you live for the weekend, like your life is broken pretty much. Oh, and I kind of got some of that vibes from you there, where like when you really love what you do, Monday feels like the best day in the week, right? Because it's just your week to start working on the stuff you love to do.
Exactly. And I love that dude. That guy just gets life. Anybody should listen to everything he ever says, but it's also particular on what you do. So he's a social media, he's a business guy. So he should work nonstop, no weekends. That's his thing. I'm an athlete. I actually have to rest or I can't grow and recover and perform. So I don't think of it as I live for the weekend, but like I know when to shut it down, talk, hang out with my girlfriend, not think about hockey, but that recharges the batteries. I'm sure he does something similar where he gets off his phone for 12 hours or something. You got to have like that way of knowing yourself to recharge. Maybe if you're someone that doesn't need it, you don't need it. I've been in times in my life where everything's going so good, I can just work nonstop, but then you got to know when to pull out the reins. It's just self-awareness. It's constantly evaluating yourself, constantly thinking about it.
Yeah. And that I think it's a good transition thinking about famous people and famous quotes to a little game I like to play here on the podcast. I have a collection of sports psychology quotes. I have about 18 now. I updated it recently, but I have about 18. So I'll let you pick a number between 1 and 18, and I'll read you the quote and then just reflect on it a bit, maybe an important time in your career where it really rings true and whatnot.
Okay, 9.
This is from John Wooden, legendary UCLA basketball coach. He said, "Don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do."
I mean, that's just universe stuff right there. I'm sure I could relate to all of them, but my whole message is control what you can control and do it with love. You can control what you control and be an asshole person. You can do things with love and not control what you can control. You need to do both those things. And those things in unison is everything you need to know in life. And it's weird, but that's what he's saying is like, control what you can control. You can't control your basketball player in UCLA. John Wood's not playing you. What can you control? Getting to the gym 2 hours early, shooting, practicing, staying later, doing all the extra work. You can always control that and not care what people think, dude. Like some people are so hung up on that. And that's where it comes from too. Oh, I can control that. But what if I get viewed? Who gives a crap what people think about you? Like the only person that you should care about impressing is yourself, and obviously have some awareness of your surroundings. But other than that, like I live for myself and no one else. If I don't live for myself, who the hell else is gonna? Like my girlfriend has to live with herself. Like we're a connected pair. We each have our own lives, but she can't live with me. Live for me. I can't live for her. No, my mom can't live for me. You have to live for you.
Yeah. I like how you mentioned how, like, there's obviously those few people around you, whether it's like your immediate family, your girlfriend, wife, boyfriend, husband, whoever's listening, that immediate partner is to them. But really the most important person that you should please is yourself, because if you're not happy, then why are you doing what you're doing if it's not making you happy, right? Because you're just going to hate your life pretty much.
Dude, it's too short. I keep saying this and all these things. Everything I talk about comes back to control what you control, do it with your love. And we're going to die in like what? I'm 27. I mean, I've had, I fight people. I have, probably repetitive injuries happening in my body. Who knows how long I have left to live? I'm going to live it like full, man, or at least die trying to live everything I can. Why we sit around to watch TV shows? Like there's too many shows to watch. I've watched Breaking Bad because my ex-girlfriend wanted to watch it. Or we watched Ozark because my mom and dad wanted to watch it in quarantine. So I set an hour or two a day at night to relax and watch a show with them. But you don't need to watch shows. That's not going to make you happy. I hate just people work all day. Oh, okay, I'm just going to watch shows for 4 hours, go to bed, do it again. If that makes you happy, all the power to you. But I really doubt it is.
Yeah. It's all about self-awareness, right? Like if that truly makes you happy, then fine, go do it. But if it's an escape for like not doing the actual work, that's like 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. that you need to get out of that 9 to 5 job that you hate type of thing, you kind of got to check yourself then.
That's why I love talking with people like you, because you probably have a job, but then you grind your podcast, right?
I'm doing this on my lunch right now, so give you some perspective.
Exactly. So I vibe with people like you so hard because you get it. Like, just like the new marketing agent I have, he gets it. All these people, I put in these people in my life that get it, because when I'm around people that don't, I'm working on my grace, but I have a hard time like not sharing what I think, because I'm like, I would want someone to tell me, wake the hell up here. Like, come on, man. Everybody is, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in that, but I believe that like we're here for something, and I don't know what it is spiritual, but everybody has a super good strength and a lot of weaknesses, and probably your strengths, probably what's going to end up making you happy in a weird way. Like I'm really good at long distance running. I don't necessarily like it, but I'm really good at that. I've worked myself into liking hockey at this level. Yeah. Someone's got to be out there that can do something really well. And if you don't know what it is, just start trying everything and you'll run into it eventually.
Yeah, exactly. And just to pivot off this quote a bit, don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do. I want to kind of get a bit about your sense of you as a hockey player, knowing a bit about your role, north-south, hardworking type of guy, getting in the trenches and whatnot. How hard was it for you to accept that as your role as a hockey player? Because obviously it won't get as much media attention as the goals and the assists, right? Putting up 150 points.
No, I had never had one problem accepting it. What I don't accept is when people don't appreciate me, or you bring me on a team, but then don't value me. Like, I know I'm at the lowest on the totem pole. I know, I accept that. I love that actually, because I do a job no one wants to do really anymore, but it's really simple, but it's also very hard. Like, I relish the challenge of it. And from the age of 16, turning 17, I was told that was my role, and I've embraced it ever since. But don't pigeonhole me just because I am that. Like, I can play. Like, I work at it hard. I'm not, as I said in another podcast, I'm a dinosaur to people, but like, I see myself as like a dinosaur that's like adapting. Like, I can change my legs, get a little quicker. I can change my little T-Rex arms. I have good hands. You know what I mean? Like, not set in stone what I am. Yeah. I'm a growth mindset person. I'm a late bloomer. So I don't mind the role at all, but just value me if you want me around. Yeah. And actually, I'm sick and this is okay. I'm ranting, but I'm sick and tired of you. All you hear in hockey is like, oh, the passion's not there anymore. You know, it's all this skill, and which is great, but it's not like that real in the trenches kind of hard hockey. But then you see them keep signing skilled guys and guys that have questionable work ethics just because they can do certain things. Like, I'm starting to get really sick of that. Like, all these executives and stuff need to put your money where your mouth is kind of thing. Like, if you want those hardworking people, those gritty people, because I've been on teams and guys just want to walk in, take their money and go home. They don't care about winning. You know, I'm sick of that. I'm a hockey fan that's playing hockey and worked my way to this level. I want to win. I play to win the Stanley Cup, and I'm not even in the NHL. That's what motivates me. That's what should motivate everyone, winning.
And, you know, it's important for a lot of people to realize, I mean, most people do realize this, but the whole concept of knowing your role in the team and whatnot, playing NHL is not playing fantasy Yahoo ice hockey, right? Like, you can't have 12, like, as good as Connor McDavid is, probably the best player in the world right now. He's not 6'6", 250 pounds, right? Like, he can't play defense, right? He can't fight, stuff like that, right? So it's important for people to know, athletes out there, younger athletes looking to make that break into the pro ranks, or, you know, minor ranks, I guess, that just because you can't put up 150 points a year doesn't mean you're worthless to your team, of course. Like, it seems so weird just to say that, but I think in the moment, a lot of athletes do struggle with that if they're not getting all those goals and assists, then they feel a little self-worthless.
Yeah, it actually cracks me up. Like, obviously at a lower level, a player like me should have more points and stuff. But like, all the kids do you know how hard it is to be a top 6 NHL player? Like, do you know how rare that is? There's 6 of them on each team, roughly, and some guys with potential. So if you're some kid who's lighting it up, just scoring at will, that's not going to get you to the NHL. I promise you. There is like so few guys that are that skilled. Like, that's so hard to be that skilled. So you better figure out all the other parts of the game. Like, if you're a center who's lighting up your minor team and you're not even in the OHL yet, and you don't even care about faceoffs because, whatever, I'll get the puck and score when I get it. No. Like, you better be able to win faceoffs, because that might be stop you right in your tracks and not even make pro. Like, there's so many things that go into it. So you're so right. Like, so hung up on stats and that. Like, coaches want people to play the right way. I've said this all the time. Like, if I play a whole year, 82 games in the AHL or AHL, and I don't have a single point, like, I somehow get like 33rd assists and I don't get on the score sheet, but I fight and I stick up for my teammates and I'm physical and I bring energy and we win and we're in the playoffs and we have a chance, I'm happy as a pig in shit. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, 100%. Do you have another number between 1 and 18? Another quote we can fire off here?
Let's go 11. That was my baseball number.
11. This is this one I haven't said too often, but it's a bit controversial here, as we try not to be controversial on this podcast, but this one's a bit controversial. It's from Steffi Graf, legendary German tennis women's player. She said, "Sometimes I wish I could have been a bit more relaxed, but then I wouldn't have been the same player."
Oh, that's what we've been kind of talking about, right? Like, I could say the exact same thing. You know, wish I'd been a little bit more, I'm outside, I'm just not just a hockey player or this or that, but before my career probably would have helped, but that's also not who I am. So you need to, that's me accepting that what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are, but now I'm fully aware of them and now I'm ready to move forward and not let those hinder me anymore. Cause I did the self-authoring thing. I have like a whole autobiography on myself. If I'm ever wavering off course, which I haven't yet, I haven't had to go back and read it yet, but when I do, cause it will happen, cause nothing's permanent, I go back and read that thing. 16,000 words. It'll take some time, or I can pick out certain parts that I need to, remind myself of, and I'll be right back on track. So I have like fail safes in place now for when I stray.
Yeah. We talked about this already, like you said a bit, but it's all about self-awareness and embracing who you are. Like, just because player X, Y, and Z over here can get 100% relaxed and play to the best of their potential doesn't mean that you need to be 100% relaxed. You can only be 60 or 75% relaxed, and that 40 to 25% of anxiety or whatever the term you want to use, that may actually help your play in that moment, right? It's all about finding that balance and that equilibrium, and really just being self-aware and going through those trial and error techniques and strategies and seeing really what works for you and what's your optimal flow, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm. And I've worked with so many different sports psychologists that I've taken so many things from. But yeah, there's like one where you like gauge your temperature every day, and I had to do it for like a month, where you start to figure out like, what's my optimal temperature to play? Maybe like 5 out of 10, right? Or my rating. It's like, that's where I'm peak arousal, peak like ready to go, but also relaxed. So I found myself some days at a 2, some days at a 7, but most of the time like 7, 8, 9, because I'm intense. So it's over the top, but it's learning ways to like bring it back, reel it into that like flow state. So I think about that on a daily basis, and then like, just like, oh, okay, so how am I feeling today? So like, I had a personal little dispute going on a couple of weeks ago, and I went out to skate, and I was like, I am not as pumped as I usually am to skate. So what am I going to do? I'm going to get myself, I'm going to forcefully start talking a bit to the guys. Hey, what's up? How's it going with this drill? And then I'm starting to, whoop it up when I score a goal. I sally just to goof around, like lighten myself up. Like, that's all. That can't happen overnight. That takes time. That's something that you can't just figure out. You have to go through.
Yeah. It's been super apparent through this interview in this podcast how much dedication you have to the mental game and everything. Today, you're like thinking about now in the present. Is this something that you do like every day in the week, or do you like sometimes take days off from like this like full 100% like your mental approach to everything in life? Are there just days where like you turn everything off, like I need a kind of a reset? Or
I guess right now with the way my life's set up is that I see my girlfriend on the weekend, so I kind of simmer down hard when she's here. Now she's coming here early this week to get her hair done, stuff, so she's here tomorrow. So that'll be a new little challenge of like, babe, like I got my stuff to do and I don't usually see you, so I'll see you when I see you because I'm getting my stuff done. But then when I get back to her, to zoom it down to a relationship level, whatever that is. But I don't know. I'm a very intense guy, and like I said, when you love what you do, and on ice and off the ice, I'm always running hot, and I like that. Like, that's when I feel the most alive. So I wouldn't say I turn it off too much. If anything, maybe a half day where I truly try not to think about it. But other than that, I'm always underlying, what am I going to do differently? What am I going to do? I'm trying to get better all the time.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Awesome. Before we wrap up here, I have a couple rapid fire questions for you. Enough on somewhat of a fun note here. were all stuck in quarantine for a while. So I know at least for me, myself, I had a couple snacks I got addicted to. For you, were there any snacks that stick out that really started to get into your wheelhouse the past couple of months?
I'm pretty dialed on diet. So Saturday night's my night where I don't really care from, 7 till I go to bed. I can eat wherever the hell I want. So it's been Domino's a lot. Like
Domino's.
Me and my girlfriend have been crushing Domino's, cheesy bread and Cinnasticks. That's been mine.
And straight pepperoni pizza, or you got some other toppings on?
Oh no, I'm a sausage, pepperoni, green pepper, mushroom guy.
I like it. Yeah, I have one of the fan questions here from my buddy at Robbie McLeod on Instagram. He wanted to know who had the hardest shot that you've blocked so far in your career.
Well, I think I can count on my hand the amount of PK shifts. So not a lot of blocks, but when I do block them, I mean, that's actually, I have no clue because I usually, if it hits me, it hurts. I don't even really know who it is. So I'll maybe switch that over to, just because I don't honestly know, the hardest guys I've fought, maybe Brett Galland and Michael Ambus, because those are super tough guys. But I can't really think of someone's hard shot blocking it now.
No, that's something that you want to forget anyways. We talk, like, as an athlete, sometimes we talk about like accepting things, not forgetting about them so you can learn from them. But blocking shots is something you want to forget because you don't need to really learn.
I'm going to do it regardless of who it is.
Yeah.
I love, the thing that cracks me up is when you see like Chara or Ovechkin or Weber. Weber's hurt a lot of people with his shot, but like, you're a PK guy and you're that defenseman that's supposed to flex out and front that shot, and they just don't. Like, I just don't know how that guy has it. Like, why isn't he kicked off the power play or penalty kill immediately? Like, if I'm a coach, that is your job. I'm sorry that he's a right-handed shot and you're that right D-man. If you don't want to do it, tell us, and we'll get Gabe, the fighter, to go do it, because I'll fucking do it.
Yeah. 100%.
It drives me nuts. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's your job. You're going to get hurt at some point. You got to go block that shot. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you want from me.
That's the role you sign up for. PK, NHL. Like, you want the Bucks. That's where it is.
Yeah, I'm sick. Oh God, the Flamingo guys and stuff. That PK. It's just like, I'm sitting on the bench and I just go, what's wrong with hockey? Like, I don't understand. Like, you're not supposed to do that.
You need to do a shot blocking clinic then when everything go back up and running here in NHL.
I'm not saying I'm great at it, but I try my best. I truly try to put my body in front of it. I don't know.
Right, I love that. Yeah. Another rapid fire question here. Growing up, did you have a favorite hockey team or a favorite player? You're a Newmarket area, right? You grew up, was it? So the Leafs, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Leafers.
Just Matt Sundin, I guess. Just
100%.
because he was like the big. I got one goal he scored. I can't remember if it was in the playoffs or was it just an OT game in the regular season. He came down. He had like a slap shot from just inside the blue line on Kiprusoff. That was just like a rocket. I'm like, well, how is that possible?
Was that when he scored his like 500th goal?
May have been something like that, but it was just like, how does he see 6'5", 230, 40, wherever he is? And how are you scoring a slap shot at an NHL goalie clean from that far out? I was just like, this guy's crazy.
Yeah. No, growing up as a Leafs fan, he was obviously my favorite player too. And I always tell people that he was like my first favorite player. Then I think more hard about it. And my first favorite player is Felix Potvin for the Leafs when he was the goalie for them. For some reason, I just loved him and his goalie mask and everything. So kind of sticks out with me for that. But going off the kind of the retro vibe of the NHL, we're both 27-ish. So we grew up in what I like to consider the golden era of hockey jerseys. Are there hockey jerseys from that time that stick out that you really love?
I don't know. I've never really been a jersey guy. Personally, I just like red, black, and white because that's what my Newmarket Redmen were growing up. Right. So I always liked the Blackhawks or the Devils jerseys. Like, we're always just like, those are just sick jerseys.
Yeah. The one that I always like to bring up is that Sabres jersey, like the black one with the bull on the front or the saber on the front.
Oh,
it's like black, white, and red. Because when I played hockey, that was like in house league. That was the first team I played on, so I always have a special.
Oh, black, white, and red. Yeah, though that Buffalo one. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Yeah. That's cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Last question here. Who do you think would be a good guest in the podcast? Somebody that hockey player or any other athlete that has a really strong mental game that you really kind of look up to and really value their approach to their day-to-day grind, so to say.
I mean, he's probably super busy because he does his own podcast, but Connor Carrick, who plays with the Devils, that guy's very similar to me. Like, he's one of those guys in the locker room that guys are just so like, this guy, all he does is just do whatever he thinks is best, and he just does not care what anybody thinks. And if you judge him for that, he's like, okay, cool, that's your problem. And I love that about him. Like, he just doesn't care, and I freaking love that. Like, why should you care? You're in the NHL locker room. Guy's trying to get better. Okay, like, that's on board with me. So I'd say him.
And, off that point, just as a last concluding mark here, we talked a lot about this podcast about not caring what other people think about you. And I think it's really important for people to understand that when people when people say things like that to you, like, why are you doing that? Whatever, like razz you for it, probably because they're jealous. And they might be a bit envious of the success you're having, or you're working really hard. They don't want to work as hard to get to where they want to go, sort of thing. I think it really all comes from a point of jealousy, and you're probably doing something right if people are jealous of it, right? So just keep doing it.
Yeah. The more success you get, the more hate you're going to get. And I love it, dude. I think it's so funny. I can't say it's funny because I don't want to put those people down, but unless it's my buddies and we know each other and they mess with me, that's fine. That's one thing. But when it's people that don't know you, that want to rain on your parade for truly trying to be your best and live your best self, it's just like, I just shake my head and just say, I'm sorry you feel that way, man. Like,
yeah.
Like I have compassion for you. I'll love to talk to you about it, but if you don't want to hear from me because I'm not cool or something, because I tried too hard, go find someone else, because I hope you find what I've found, man. And it sucks that you haven't.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you want to put, I don't think I've ever put hate on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's even when I'm not saying I'm better than anyone, but even when I hadn't had life figured out, which I don't have it figured out, but I think I'm in a better place now. Like, I just don't think, if you put hate on the internet of any kind, even on these social justice issues, when someone says something you just disagree with, like a racist person's like, hate black people, blah, blah, blah. If you still put hate at them, first of all, that ends the discussion. And it just shows you're just insecure and you haven't thought about your own process and your own accountability, because there is just in my mind, zero reason to put hate anywhere in the world. Just push love. And if somebody doesn't agree with you, that's okay. We'll work through it. Let's talk about it. Let's have uncomfortable conversations. So I just so sick of that whole thing. And I'm just trying to preach what I do through all my channels and how I live, because there's just no need for any hate. It just is so dumb.
And what I found as well, going along that point, is with everything you do, there's going to be people that love and people that hate it. 9 times out of 10, there's probably more people that love it than hate it. Just the people that hate it might have a stronger voice or a louder voice, right? And I think as humans, the negativity kind of sinks in a bit more concrete than the positivity that you get. At least I think you can train yourself to care more about the positivity. I think the first instinct is to care more about negativity. So I really stress to people just to kind of, as much as you can, train yourself just to block out the hate, because for every one person that hates you, there's 10 people that love you.
I say turn it into fuel. Turn it into freaking jet fuel. That's what I love about it. It just cracks me up. It cracks me up when people come at me and stuff. And I'm like, guys, I'm 27. I'm a man now. I've heard every possible chirp you can throw at me. Nothing, literally nothing can get under my skin anymore. I just laugh. I'm like, sick chirp, but that was a good one. And I just go on about my day. Like, I don't care. So go find someone else that's going to get, hurt about it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point to end it off here, Kurtis. I appreciate you taking some time here. I don't know if down in the London area, if you guys are phase 2 or phase 3 yet, but I hope that as things start opening up, that you, your friends and your family, everybody stays safe and healthy with the whole coronavirus thing. And again, this is a huge blast for me to do, and appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks very much, buddy. I think we're phase 3 Friday, but it's pretty normal here. Just be good. Don't wear a mask if you have to.
Exactly.
Wash your hands. It's been pretty good. So we know how to handle things up in Canada. US, not so much. So I appreciate the time, buddy. This is the exact type of podcast I like doing. So it's
appreciate it, man. Appreciate your time.